Hello and welcome to Truth Xpose TV. My name is Aldwyn Altuney, your host for today, and I have a wonderful guest today, and we're going to be talking about some serious stuff about the truth about people dying at home alone and going unnoticed. And in fact, this is happening more and more nowadays, and it's a very scary thing. In fact, some people have even been found dead in their homes after 8 years with no one noticing. The person we're about to talk to is the co-founder of a fantastic new service called Carecallingnow, which does daily care calls to elderly people across Australia to check in on them when other family is absent. The new service is actually being launched on the Gold Coast on April 12 very shortly, and it's going to be amazing for people who are very busy and cannot look after their elderly parents at home, and particularly around holiday times such as Easter and Mother's Day when a lot of people go away. Now, did you know that 4% of all hospital admissions in the 65 plus age group are fall related, and that fall deaths are now more prevalent than traffic deaths in this group? The Australian Bureau of Statistics projections suggest that by 2026, about 907,000 people aged 75 years and over will be living alone, most of them older women. So about 685,000 of those older women that will be living alone at home. So if we can just have a big drum roll for our special guest. And welcome for Irene Manson.
Thanks, Aldwyn.
Thanks, Irene. Thank you so much for joining us. And I must say, this is an awesome new service that you have started with your husband, Ian, and I'm sure it's going to make a big difference for people right across Australia. So before we get into talking too much about Carecallingnow, I'd love to know a bit about your story and why you decided to start Carecallingnow with Ian.
Well, the reason we started was a few years back, Ian's mum, when we moved up here, and she stayed in Victoria, and all the children had pretty much left home, and we were concerned about her well-being, especially after Ian's dad passed away, because she lived for probably another 18 years on her own after he died. So we bought her one of those medical alert pendants to hang around her neck, and she was stubborn and refused to wear it. So it just hung on the knob on the bedroom door, or it laid on the bedside table. And she had a few incidences of falls, and she, was lying there for quite some time. And in one instance, even if she'd been wearing it, it wouldn't have helped because she was unconscious. So she couldn't have pressed the button on it anyway to get help. So we had young family at the time, and, we're busy with life, as so many people in that sort of middle-aged group is, and we decided there has to be a better way to communicate with people and, raise the alarm instead of, because it's not uncommon for someone to lie on the ground for 4 days before someone notices that they haven't seen them around. So in that time, the long lie is associated with a high mortality rate amongst older people. So if we can get to them quicker, all the better for them.
That's pretty huge. And a lot of people are now falling over in nursing homes. In fact, a lot more in nursing homes than they are actually at home, which is interesting. So there seems to be a bit of a trend towards people staying in their own homes nowadays rather than going into nursing homes, which should see an increased need for your service.
Yeah, I think the government's trying to encourage people to stay in their own home longer. And I just saw, as you say, it's 6 times more likely to fall in a nursing home than if you're in your own home. I guess it's more familiar, it's smaller, I guess. There's less things to trip over. So, and they're, as I said, probably primarily it's the familiarity. So, yeah.
And what about your own personal experience with your parents? Did you see a need before the situation with Ian's mother? How were your parents in the ageing process?
Well, my father and mother, they travelled quite a lot, and once they did settle down, my dad wasn't there for all that long. He passed away fairly quickly after they returned home. But my mum was pretty lucky. She had a lady across the road, and we called her neighbourhood watch because she had a 2-storey house and her living area was upstairs. So she knew exactly what was going on in the neighbourhood, and they'd ring each other. So we didn't have the same concerns with mum. The difficulty that I had with my mum was me calling her, because I just found it was such a chore and such an effort that, you know, you'd sort of think, oh, I should ring her, but have I really got an hour to spend on the phone hearing, you know, everything over a couple of times and, you know, her repeating herself because she needed people to talk to. And so I'd put off calling her. And, you know, I'd sort of bury my head in the sand a bit and avoid making the call. And then you'd say, oh, look, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow, before you knew it, turned into the next day and the next day. And before you know, a week's gone by and you haven't spoken to her. So this service really helps for women, probably mostly, because there are issues later in life between mothers and daughters. They're either really, really close or they've drifted apart and don't talk as often as they perhaps should. So this service alleviates the guilt and the stress for the family member that feels guilty for not ringing and for avoiding making the calls.
That's a fantastic idea. So can you explain a bit about how the service works?
Well, basically how it works, you can have 1 or 2 calls a day. The person that's receiving the call makes the decision as to, or ideally they're the ones that make the decision as to what time they would like it. They can have it in the morning, in the evening, during the night, you know, pretty much any time, lunchtime. I'm finding a lot of people do it in the mornings. However, we do have a lady in America that her mum still goes to work, and she's moved to Mexico, and she gets a call of an evening just to know that her mum's got home from work okay. So for her, it's not so much the falling issue, it's a safety issue that, you know, she's got home safely from work. So once you decide what time, it's done at the same time every day. There is a degree of flexibility. You can personalise it a little bit if you want to, but often it's easier. It just becomes part of the routine and the, you know, the daily habit. So when we make the call, it's just a really short, quick call. It's not a loneliness call, so there's no conversation. And basically it's just a, hi, hi Aldwyn, this is your daily care call. Please press any numbered key on your phone to acknowledge that you're okay. Push the button now, and then it just, thank you, your call has been received. Thank you, have a nice day, talk to you tomorrow type of thing. And it's done. So it's not very intrusive. It's very discreet, and it's not, you know, it's not very time consuming. So your mum can get it while she's having her cup of tea or coffee at breakfast time, and we find a lot of them are sitting there and the phone barely rings. Having said that, if there is something that happens, then there'll be a second call about 10 or 15 minutes later. If they don't answer that one, then there's another call 10 or 15 minutes after that. So there's 3 attempts within 30 minutes. And if none of those calls are answered, then when people register, then they nominate 1 or 2 alternate numbers, ideally someone close by or a member of the office at the church or some community group that are willing to send somebody to have a look, because then their job ideally is to, well, not drop everything they're doing, but appreciate that it's a matter of urgency for them to get over to the person's house and have a look everywhere. Hopefully they're a close enough friend that they know where the key's hidden, or they've got a key so that they don't have to break the door down or anything, and get in and check all the rooms and just see that they're okay. And then it's up to them to make a decision as to whether we need to call an ambulance or whether they can just help them up in a cup of tea or fix it or whatever. If none of those 5 calls are answered, then the person that has been nominated as the emergency contact will get a text or a phone call plus an email to say that we haven't been able to contact anybody and that you need to address this as a matter of urgency. So that's pretty much the process.
Fantastic service. And it's just Australia-wide at the moment, is that correct?
It is Australia-wide. It is also in the US and Canada, and we will be going into New Zealand soon.
Fantastic. And it's a very low-cost service too, I believe. How do the costings work?
It's $33 a month. So that's about $1 a day plus with $1.10 with GST here in Australia. And it's charged calendar monthly. So it's less than 2 cups of coffee a week. So most people, it's not a huge cost impact on you if, for, to give you peace of mind and to, help alleviate some of your feelings of stress and guilt. And frustration.
Yeah, it really is a brilliant idea, and it's it's quite horrific to hear about stories. Like the lady Natalie who was found 8 years after she died in her place. You probably know a bit more. Natalie Wood, who was dead for 8 years, and she was found in a Surrey hill terrace in Sydney in 2011. That's quite horrendous. I mean, after 8 years, they probably wouldn't even recognise the body, and I'd say the smell would be absolutely horrendous coming out of that unit.
It's quite common too. It surprised me in Japan. They've got like 32,000 people a year dying alone and unnoticed, and not only in the cities but in the countries, in the rural areas as well. And the reason that shocked me was not so much that was happening, but Japan is sort of synonymous with taking care of their older people, that now everybody's so busy, making a living and earning an income and, with mobile phones and all that sort of stuff, that they're not really taking too much notice of what goes on in their neighbourhood. And I'm guessing Gen Y and the millenniums got blamed with a lot of things, and but even the older people are not, the middle level of people are not really feeling the responsibility and the what's the word I'm trying to think, that their responsibility is to take care of them. They're sort of pushing that to a side a little bit and making themselves more, their life more important.
And I guess as people are getting busier and busier and life seems to be speeding up,
absolutely,
it's something that I think will be needed more and more as time goes on, as more people find out about it. I think it really is a fantastic service, and I've been lucky enough to try the service out myself. Just getting that daily checking it's actually really nice. It kind of feels like someone's thinking about you every day, even though it is an automated message. It actually has a nice feeling. It's to know that you're a bit, someone's checking in on you and that you're cared about and that you're loved. So it's got a really nice feeling there too. And I think with a lot of older people, they probably do feel very alone.
Yeah. And the other people that the service helps is I found this lovely terminology called the sandwich generation, and they're the sort of late baby boomer, probably predominantly women, that are now at the stage in their life where their kids are grown and it's sort of, they've paid off their house and they've got a nice car and they're looking at cruising and, playing tennis and doing all those sorts of things. And then suddenly now they've got the responsibility of having to look after an aging parent, or in some instances even a grandparent, or maybe even her husband's parents or grandparents. And then at the other end, she's got, perhaps an older child that's come back home, because a lot of the young ones are, you know, coming back home to save money, or, you know, because they haven't got a job or whatever. And potentially she's got grandchildren that she has to look after and take care of, you know, pick up once a week from school or something like that. So she's really sandwiched in the middle and being torn in both directions when, as I said, it should be about her, and now it's about everybody else. And because of the time that she grew up, she is very much about helping people and not wanting to let people down. It's very much a idiosyncrasy, I suppose, for want of a better word, of that generation, that they want to help people, and, you know, they don't want to be a bother. So they put everybody else first.
And can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know that your husband was a professional basketball player there for a while. And what about your background? What were you doing in your working life before Carecallingnow?
Well, I played basketball too, so that's how we met. And then we moved up here and got involved in businesses with my family. They encouraged us to, you know, get out of the job rat race, and we've sort of been fairly entrepreneurial since then. We've sort of dabbled in lots of things, and we were in management rights for 18 years, where we looked after 88 townhouses, and that was good fun. I enjoyed that because it gave me people contact without, or I could choose when I wanted people contact, and if I just shut the door, then I didn't have people contact. But it started to get, it was time for a change for us, change for them. So that's what led us to creating Carecallingnow, to, you know, try and give back and to help. Our mission is to keep people in their home longer. So, you know, that's our main source, and we want to sort of value add to people's lives.
The other point is that when people go into nursing homes, not only are they likely to fall over more times, but they're also likely to die a lot quicker in the nursing home, because it's a kind of environment, I would imagine, where people are not very happy. They're kind of waiting to die in there almost, and it's the whole feel of the place in general, as much as I'm sure many nursing homes do their best not to have that feel about the place.
Yeah.
The actual facts show that people die pretty soon after going into nursing homes.
Well, I think they lose a lot of purpose, you know, unless they're active. I know when Ian's mum went into the nursing home, Ian sort of said he felt like we were putting her in a nice jail. It even had bars on the windows, and she had, you know, she had quite a nice room and she had her own bathroom, but she got quite paranoid about people stealing her things, and because they couldn't lock their doors or anything. And I guess there was people with Alzheimer's and things like that, you know, probably didn't mean to take her stuff, but, you know, something bright and shiny and they liked the look of it. So, I might just help myself to that. So you could see we, you know, it depressed Ian quite a lot to go and visit her when we went down to Victoria. So, yeah, it's quite sad too. And the thing is, a lot of them like to stay in their own homes because that's where their memories are, that's where their community is, you know, and I mean, that's where all the family photos are and the kids grew up, and, you know, it holds a lot. It's really important to them. And the other thing we've discovered too, a lot of people like to get the phone calls because they worry about their pets. You know, what if I fall over, who's going to feed the dog? Or, you know, is the cat going to eat me? Or, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not only for the person, but you know, they worry about their four-legged dependents.
Yes, well, that's a very good point. I mean, I don't know how long a lot of pets can survive without food or water, but that is a very good point. I mean, if somebody falls over, what would happen to their pet if no one knew about it? So this service could potentially not just save lives, but save pets' lives as well, which is a very good point. And we all love our pets, and I think pets are a wonderful thing for older people too, because they do give them that extra bit of love, unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Where else than we can with pets? So I think that's fantastic. So what are some other issues that are facing older people today? Like what are some ways they can kind of stay excited about life, I guess, once the kids have moved on and you know, coming into their golden years? What do you suggest that they do to keep some excitement about their life?
Well, I guess it's difficult if depends how active they remain. I know even just with us, as we've got older, we've sort of got less friends, and I think you have to make, as you're getting older, before you get like so isolated, you really need to make an effort to try and maintain. Oh, not so much maintain, because you've got the certain friends that you keep track of, but people move, and you know, but it's to try and create. Not create's not the word, but to establish new friendships, and that's really, really difficult, because friendships. It's not like saying something. Oh, hey, I'm going to find a new friend today. It's something that develops slowly over time, and I think people don't sort of realise early enough that they're becoming isolated and losing touch with their friends, that they don't notice it early enough to be able to broaden their circle of friendships. I notice I've started with the library, you know, going to some of the free things that they do at the library. But again, you've got to be able to drive a car, or, you know, you've got to have a method to get there, as well as the inclination. I mean, some of the stuff I went, but, you know, and I'm not in that category yet, but you know, we're aware of it, and you know, it's a difficult thing to do to establish new friendships. You know, a lot of people establish them with their kids at school and, you know, through school and sport, but then as the kids get older, you don't tend to go to the sport anymore, and you lose touch, and that's sort of the beginning of the isolation issue for older people. And their friends die too, so they lose the number just by attrition. That's
true. The older we get, the more people we see die around us. In fact, I've had 3 people I know die just in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's really sad. People aged from early 70s to mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just one little disease or one little thing comes on, and the next thing they're gone. You know? So it's, it does get very sad. I think the older you get, the more you realise how fragile life is.
Yes.
And how important it is to do what you love. And as they say, how do you want to be remembered? It's good to remember how do you want to be remembered. And I think a great thing for people in general, and a great thing I would say for older people who maybe don't have so much mobility, is actually doing something like art or cooking, you know, where you don't need to actually move around too much. You can get creative in a small space. And I think creativity is not just a great way to pull people out of depression, but it's actually a great thing to for your own self-esteem and to keep you motivated with, you know, creating things.
But I have noticed, just in my own experience with my mum and myself, the older you get, the less you want to cook. So unless you were really a homebody and you love cooking, you know, you're over it. and I know, and I was reading an article, which is digressing a little bit, but there was an article about a woman that died alone in Castlemaine, I think it was in Victoria. And the neighbours sort of said she was a little bit eccentric. So, you know, a lot of people sort of avoided her because she was a little bit different. And because they're so busy, she said back in the day when probably that lady was younger, there were a lot more people that stayed at home. You know, the women didn't go to work. There's a lot more pressure on women to go to work. And so if back then you had women that were at home that did cook and bake and do the washing and, you know, do the gardening, that they were a bit more aware of what was going on in the neighbourhood, and they talked to each other because they'd be out in the garden and someone would walk past. Whereas now it's pretty much, you know, hop in the car, drive to the shop, hop in the car, drive to work, hop in the car, drive the kids to wherever they're going. And there's a lot less awareness of what's happening with people around them in the neighbourhood. And I mean, we hear it all the time. We're an age of communication, but we actually communicate less and less because it's all so narrow now, rather than you know, being aware of what goes on around us. So that sort of contributes a lot to this sort of dying alone and unnoticed phenomenon too. So, which is sad, but I don't know that there's much you can really do about it.
As I say, we're more connected now than ever in some ways with the internet
Yeah.
and all the media and all that sort of thing, and yet we're more disconnected in some ways on a personal level than ever before. And things are speeding up. However, this is just, it's a current trend, and it's probably just going to keep on, you know, accelerating, I would say, as things just move faster and faster. And it's about, okay, damage control, really. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
How can you survive and thrive in these times, rather than bury your head in the sand.
And the generation that we're dealing with too, that the service is for, they're still hanging on with, to their landlines. They refuse to go modern and go mobile. They're still probably the only people in the world that have landlines, other than, well, I don't even know, for your computer, do you still need landlines now? I don't know. I'm not very tech savvy, so you could do, but they're the ones that still actually use the call and have a landline number with a. So they're still very old or non-tech. So that's where our service is good. It's a no tech sort of service, because you don't need any special equipment or anything like that. You just need a phone, be it a mobile or a landline. It will work with either. So
yes. And no, you don't need landlines for internet. You can get a dongle. On your laptop nowadays.
I'm sure they don't want to know about a dongle.
I have no idea what a dongle is.
No, I'm sure they don't. Anyway.
So Carecallingnow is being officially launched on the Gold Coast, coming up very soon, April 12th.
Yes.
So what's in store for the launch?
Good question. Well, we've invited some of the local politicians, and we've invited some of the media. And we've invited some family and friends to attend. So hopefully, our big problem is for this service is because no one's really doing it. The Red Cross do a loneliness call, but that's quite a different service. So people aren't really aware that we exist. So we have to sort of get out there and educate people about our service through wonderful opportunities like you're presenting us with. So thank you for that. And then once people hear about it, they say, oh, that's what I've been looking for. That's the solution to my problem. And hopefully that's what we'll achieve by having the launch, that it'll get the word out there and people will start to spread the word, hopefully, so that we can help lots of them and we can reduce these numbers, because it's been really difficult to find recent statistics on these numbers. But I know a few years back, I think it was 2008, there was like 500 or 600 people in New South Wales alone that were dying. And like just recently, there was a couple of instances in the newspaper about men that lived out on farms that had machinery accidents. And there was a fellow down in Victoria somewhere where he got the tractor rolled on him, I think it was, and he was there for a couple of days before a neighbour. And when they're out on properties like that, if they live alone, who's going to know?
That's a good point. It is actually a very good service for people in rural areas who maybe live
rural areas. Yes, and that'll probably be more men than women, or that still live out on the farm, and the kids have all moved into town and don't want to be farmers, because thank goodness they do it, but who'd be a farmer?
And yeah, as we were saying before, that after a fall or accident, 4 days is not uncommon for elderly loved ones who fall to, or 4 days is not uncommon for people to wait where elderly loved ones have died at home. And the falls often may not all end in death, but hospitalisation for severe dehydration is the least you can expect. So it could be a very grueling thing for people falling over at home. who may not actually die, but they may not be able to move. They might have broken a part of their body. It could be an extremely painful process for them. And at least with the phone service, well, if they can't get to the phone, if their phone isn't near them, at least those other calls will kick in where you know, a neighbour will be notified, or somebody will be notified. You can actually go and physically check up on them. So
I heard a story of a lady that fell in the shower, and she was getting the hot water on her. Of course, then when the hot water ran out, she was lying under a cold shower. So, you know, even though she didn't actually hurt herself, but she couldn't get off, but she had the water flowing on her for, I think it was a day and a half or 2 days that she laid there with the water running on her. Now, you know, that's not a good thing either. So, and, you know, if they have a stroke or something. I heard it one where a gentleman had one of the Medi-Alerts and he fell on top of it, so he couldn't get to it. And someone was telling me in some of the nursing homes, they have the buttons on the walls, you know, the emergency buttons. But if you're on the floor, unless you've got go-go gadget arms, you can't reach the button. In, you know, the really low-level care where you're still you know, responsible for yourself and they still eat, but they have the option of going to social functions and things like that. But there's not a compulsory, you know, you have to turn up for breakfast or you have to turn up for lunch so that they can check on you. So that's another area that I didn't realise till we started this, that there wasn't really, a lot of people think, oh, I'll put them in a nursing home, or not a nursing home, but in the low level care, that someone's checking on them. But on the really low level, nobody is, because they're still really independent living. So yeah.
That's very interesting. And what about the technology for Carecallingnow? So it's an automated service. Did you and Ian actually create the technology behind it, or how does that?
We didn't personally, but we had someone that's created the software and created the platform that does the calling and created the interface thing for the, you know, to sign in. We've tried to make it as simple as we can and as user friendly as we can, and we've tried to sort of try and think what everybody might like. For example, we said you can get it at that it defaults to the same time every day. But if, for example, you say usually on a Thursday I go to the doctor's, so I would like it earlier or later on a Thursday because I'm not going to be home at the time. But the rest of the week I'm quite happy to have it at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But on Thursdays I'd like it at 10 when I get back. So it does allow for, you know, personalising it. The other thing we also have is for people, for example, we've got some friends and Granny lives downstairs and they live upstairs, and they're going on a 6-week cruise. And so they sort of said, oh, well, what do we do with Granny, because she's not coming? And the grandkids all said, yeah, we'll ring her. And, you know, family sort of said, yep, I know you mean to, but it's not going to happen. So they can just sign up for, you know, a short-term one, just for a short period of time while they're away, so that they know at least she's getting a call every day. And if the grandkids ring, well, it's a bonus, because then she'll get 2 calls. So, and it takes the pressure off the kids then. And while they're away on their cruise, they don't have to give it a thought, because they know that it's under control. But when they come back, well, then it just reverts back to, they cancel it and just revert back to them taking care of her. So it's a good way for carers to get a bit of space too, without having to put them into a respite or something like that, so they can still stay at home.
Oh, that's great. So with the Carecallingnow service, is there a minimum time or a maximum time that people need to use the service?
No, there's no contract. So, but they do pay 30 days in advance. So all they need to do is just tell us before the next bill's due, to say, look, we don't want it anymore, or, you know, if Granny dies or whatever, that they don't need the service anymore. So, but otherwise it just, it's like a membership thing. It just repeats itself every month until somebody says, stop. Okay, so people could just try it out. Well, yes, we've got at the moment a 7-day free trial that people can try if they'd like to just, like you know, have a see how it is, and see if their loved one is happy with it, and then the 30 days starts after the 7-day free trial, so they can have a little taste and see how it goes.
That's great. And we've actually covered quite a lot of ground.
We have.
Anything else you'd like to say about this topic, about why this is so important for elderly people, or maybe some other things they could do in their homes if they're home alone? What are some things they could do maybe to keep themselves fit and healthy and occupied at home?
Well, I mean, just common normal sort of things. If they can walk around sometimes, even if it's just round and round the kitchen bench, if they've got an island or something like that. And I guess if you've got a parent that lives at home alone, maybe you can go online. There's lots of sort of safety audits, just check, is there a rug that's got a curl on it that she might trip over, or to make sure the things that they use often are, within easy reach, that they're not trying to stretch up to something in the cupboard to get to, or make sure that the remote control for the TV is close handy, so they don't have to stretch too far and overbalance. And I think there's lots of places on internet where you can go to download like a safety audit. And I don't know if the council don't even have a free service that they'll come in. I know with my mum, they came in and put some bars and handles for her, like in the toilet, so that she could get up, grip it and get up. And I think in the shower she had one so that she could hang on to it to step in. So you'd have to look at your local council and see what's available there. And I guess the thing with it is that for us it's a service that will save lives and relieve frustration and stress for both parties, and also the fact that we are a third party calling. Like if you called your mum every day, she might just smack you around the ears and say, "Stop calling me, I'm fine." Like, you're driving me mad. I don't need you checking on me every day, because they'll feel that you are really calling to check on them. Whereas with us, because it's so short and it's not a family member, it's done, and as I say, it just becomes part of their routine, and it seems less intrusive because it is a third party, and it's nice and simple. There's no data collected, so you haven't got any privacy issues. I mean, there is names and phone numbers and that, but there's no there's no movement patterns like some of that. You can get the sophisticated monitoring systems, but they're sort of fraught with danger if they can tell where you are. If they use the infrared cameras, there's people that are cleverer than us with technology that can drive past and say, "Oh, she's in the bedroom," and they sneak into the lounge room and steal stuff or whatever. It's technology is a wonderful thing, but it can be abused. Whereas with this, there's very little, I think, that you can abuse it. That it risks that the person that's getting the call puts them at risk from the call. I mean, from the information and that sort of stuff.
It's a nice quick call. It's very unobtrusive. It's all done within a minute, maybe even 30 seconds. Very quick call.
Oh, it's about 20, 25, if that. Yeah.
Right. Very quick call. And what people are really paying for is peace of mind. Peace of mind.
Absolutely.
That the elderly one is going to be okay, and they it's just one less thing to think about in a busy life for middle-aged people, or for people who have family members that are living in deserted areas, or it really could be for anyone who's home alone. I guess.
Well, exactly. I know we were talking to someone and they were saying, they live in Sydney. And for them, even though their mum lives in Sydney, it still takes them an hour by car to get through the traffic. So I think for anybody that their loved one is an hour or more by drive away, this is perfect. It doesn't mean you don't ever have to ring them yourself or go and visit them still, but it just takes the pressure off, and it and I've people have told us too, when they do actually call their mum or their grandmother or whatever, the conversation is so much nicer, I suppose, for want of a better word, because there isn't the worry. You don't have to check with them, ask them, are you okay? You know, that sort of thing. It can be all about, how was your day? You know, what have you been doing? And it can be a lot more, I don't know, friendlier conversation perhaps, rather than them thinking, oh, you're only calling because you're feeling guilty and you're checking on me. So it takes that out of the equation.
Yes, that's a good point. It does make them feel loved and cared for,
Yes.
even though you're not doing it. So it's a great way to outsource that little part of your life.
And I saw a quote the other day. What was it? It's worse than feeling lonely is feeling forgotten. So feeling forgotten by your family is worse than just being lonely. It's sort of a double whammy then, if you don't feel that they care for you. So, and for some people, you know, they think, well, by paying the money, that's their way of showing people, their grandmother or mother, that they care. And we're finding a lot of grandsons are buying it for their grandmothers. They seem to have a special relationship, and you know, they care. They're the ones that feel it, that they have a responsibility to make sure she's okay. So that was interesting, I found.
That's very interesting. Wow. So where can people find out more about you, Irene, and Carecallingnow?
Well, we've got a website. It's called at www.carecallingnow.com, and that's pretty much the best place to go at this stage. Or the link on the Facebook, wherever they found this, will that have it?
Yes, this will be on YouTube, and it'll be all over the social media. So you could be watching this off Facebook or YouTube or on Google+. The replay will be up after this. So people could be watching it here too. So you've also,
and that'll have the email address.
Yeah, fantastic. You've got a Facebook page as well?
We do, yes. Carecallingnow, funnily enough, Facebook page. So yes, and we I think that's the two main pages. I think there's also, I think Ian does Twitter and that sort of stuff. I don't do much of the social media other than looking at it from time to time. So so I think
yeah, that's great. And the thing to remember too with this service, there's nothing else out there like it, is there? There's nothing like Carecallingnow out there.
Not that's so short. That's just an automated service. As I said, the Red Cross do have one, but it is more a loneliness. It is actually a conversation with a person, and it is, they can only do as many people as they can do with volunteers, because they have volunteers that make the call. So I guess they're restricted by numbers, how many calls they can make, and I believe they only make them in over a 2-hour block in the morning, so between 7 and 9. I did see Tasmania, I think, does it like 8 till 10 or something like that, but it tends to just be a 2-hour block, and it's only in the morning, so you couldn't have a call in the evening to check that mum's got home from work, that type of thing, and you certainly couldn't have 2 calls. And as I said, it is quite a different service. Plus, you have to be over 65 to have the Red Cross call. So it has a few more restrictions on it. And as I said, it is a different type of service. I guess it's got a similar outcome and it serves a similar purpose, but they are quite distinct.
And that one will take a lot more time, the other calls with Red Cross. And they are daily calls too, are they, the Red Cross ones? I
believe, yes, they are, or they can be daily, they don't have to be. We did look at that, but we just felt with that, if I'm calling you every day, then I become your new best friend, because I'm talking to you every day, your family's not. And we just felt it left us open to the honesty and the trustworthiness, I suppose, of the person that's calling them, because you know, you're calling me every day and I say to you, oh, Aldwyn, I've got this letter from the solicitor, I don't know what to do. And if you're a bit unscrupulous, I'm not suggesting you are, but if you were, you could say to me, oh, Irene, look, show me the letter. I can look after that for you. Why don't you give me power of attorney and I can deal with it on your behalf? And I think there's people who could take advantage. I'm not suggesting there's people at the Red Cross that do, but there's just a little tiny crack in the door that's open for that sort of thing. Or alternatively, you know, mum dies and you're reading the will and she's left you the diamond rings and the kids all say, who's this Aldwyn and why she got mum's diamond rings, you know? And they say, well, she's the one that spoke to her every day. So we didn't want to open that Pandora's box. And as I said, Red Cross is doing it, so we didn't really see the need to recreate another service that's already out there. So we've just sort of streamlined and reduced that one to create care calling.
Yeah, which in the way it is the only type of service like that.
Like that here in Australia, certainly, yes.
So, yeah, we've got that flexibility of any time of the day that people can get the call and they get a short automated call so it doesn't take up half their day with the chat.
Yes, that's right. And some people say, oh, you know, what about the medical alerts? That's a reactive service because you don't really need it until you've fallen, and you've got to assume that you can push the button, that you're not unconscious or that you can reach it or that you're wearing it, as I mentioned earlier. Whereas ours is a proactive service. It's every day and they're not mutually exclusive. There's nothing to say that you couldn't have them both. It's just that medical alerts have been around a lot longer and people are more familiar with them. So yeah, that's a question that you're asked from time to time.
Yeah, well, that's great. I think Carecallingnow is a brilliant service and I'm sure you're going to be very successful with it.
I hope so.
Learn about it. And for anyone who's watching this, if you've got someone who's maybe isolated or an elderly person in your family or someone you know who could use this service, then go to the Carecallingnow website, which is, Irene, what's the Carecallingnow website?
www.carecallingnow.com.
Fantastic. Okay, so people can go there and they can try the service out 7 days for free. Yep. Or they can just go straight in and book it for 30 days and try it out a bit longer.
That's it.
Any other final words before we wrap up, Irene?
No, I think I've pretty much used them all.
Okay.
Other than I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to tell some of your viewers about it, and that, you know, if we can save one life with doing it, then it's worthwhile. Yes.
Absolutely, well said, and that deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much. And another one.
Double.
You get double, because that's what it's all about, making a difference in the world, one person at a time, one call at a time. Fantastic service. Well done, Irene. And the big launch coming up on April 12 on the Gold Coast. So for any VIPs out there or media people that might want to come along, they can get in touch with you, no doubt, Irene, through Facebook or through the website.
Or through you. Yep.
Or through me for the April 12 event on the Gold Coast, the VIP launch of Carecallingnow. Very exciting, right here on the Gold Coast and going Australia-wide and internationally as well.
Okay. And could I just add one more thing? If it's not too late? If there's anybody that is dealing with elderly people or, you know, has a similar market place to us, we're very happy to work together and value add to somebody else's business. So if they could see how Carecallingnow could benefit their business as an add-on, as an extra service that they could add to what they're already doing, we're very much open to doing something like that. If they, you know, like a joint venture type program or something like that, if anybody feels that might be of benefit, we'd love to have a chat to them.
Yes, fantastic. Absolutely. It's all about working together and creating win-win situations.
That's it.
And that's what we're all about here at Truth Xpose TV too. We want win-win situations, and we are waking the world up to what is going on as well out there. And I must say I was quite shocked to hear about the number of people that are dying in their homes and going unnoticed for 4 days plus at a time, even up to 8 years. So this, Carecallingnow is really a brilliant service and could well save lives. So if you're watching this as well, another way you can help if you like what you've seen is to like the video on YouTube and share this video. If you've got any comments, questions, any feedback at all for either Irene or myself, we'd love to hear your feedback as well. So please pop that under the video or if you're watching this on social media, pop a comment or a question in there, and we'd be happy to answer you as well. And of course, connect with Irene on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, I think you said, Irene, as well.
Yes.
Twitter, Facebook, and Carecallingnow page on Facebook. You can connect with me personally on all the social media as well. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Google+, Pinterest, and it just keeps going on. There's so much social media. Anyway, just Google my name and you'll find me out there. Love to connect with me. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel Aldwyn Altuney, please do so. And love to connect with you on future shows. And if you have any other guests that you think would be great on the show, please contact me for that as well. Also my media website, aaxpose.com. You can connect with me personally there. And of course, carecallingnow.com, big Australian launch coming up on April 12. So wish you all the best with that, Irene. And
thank you.
And hope that goes really well, and hopefully more and more people will be using your service soon and seeing the great benefits of it. So thank you so much for joining us. If you've been watching this, really appreciate your time and hope that you've had some great value for yourself and learnt some new things today. And wherever you are in the world, have a fantastic day and make the most of every precious moment, because before you know it, it will all be over. So here's to living a life you love. And making the most of it and getting those care calls if you're feeling a bit lonely or you're feeling a bit isolated. Make sure you hop on and utilise that service, carecallingnow.com. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.